This is what's going to make you a successful project manager. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management specialist. I help professionals to become successful project managers. Before I start, make sure you like this content here because doing that you show the value that this content has for you. It helps me to produce more content. It also helps this content to get to reach more people that wants to learn and needs to learn project management and best practices to develop their skills in their career. But also make sure you follow me for more content because I'm sharing new content every week there. So what I'm going to discuss here, it's one of the main points that you need to be a project manager. Of course, if you look for when you talk about project management, everyone, the first idea everyone has there is thinking about waterfall, agile, scrum, kanban, PMBOK, prince2. Well, what I can tell you, those frameworks they are important. As a project manager, you need to know them. So those are the items that they work out as a kind of hygiene factor there. Because if you do not know those basics, then you're going to struggle basically with almost everything else. But the thing is, it's much easier for you to learn uh, like waterfall. It's much easier for you to learn what's in the PMBOK. It's much easier to you to learn the Scrum framework than to learn what I'm showing you here, which is important characteristics that a project manager must have if you want to be successful. And why I'm saying that? Because I have worked with a lot of people in a lot of different countries, and I've been doing that for more than 13 years. And what I can tell you is what you see, if what you see there, it's not people failing or having struggling in their careers or struggling with their projects. They're not struggling because like they do not know what's a critical path. They are not struggling because they do not know that they need to control the scope. They are not struggling because they do not understand that they need to do a risk management in their projects. They struggle because they lack some basic characteristics, or you can say some basic skills. In this way, you can call them soft skills, and that's of course connected with your mindset. That's going to help you to execute your project. I'm going to give you an example that happened very recently with me, or very recently with me. I was discussing in the team, and there's one junior project manager that I'm supporting him to grow and to develop his skills. What happened is, and he started to ask me, oh, what should I do here about this lead time, about this specific hardware that I need to buy? And I have a standard lead time that's very long, and that's going to that's going to make a longer project duration. That's also, of course, going to be a challenge because the company wants to have a faster time to market and so on. And the first thing I asked him is, have you asked the responsible for this area what he thinks about it? And he was like, no, but that's the standard procedure. I cannot change the procedure. Yeah, but the point is, I was not asking him to change the procedure. I told him, you have a team. You don't need to define everything by yourself, but you need to ask those people if you are struggling with something. So being proactive, that's why I'm putting here, it's one of the most important characteristics of a project manager. Because, and try to give him feedback and some guidance on how we should move forward. But why this is so important? Because if you as a project manager, you're sitting there to wait the information to get you, that will never happen. Your job as a project manager is proactively going to talk with people. Meaning that if you need information about a specific hardware in your project or any type of lead time that you have in your project, and you have someone in your team that's a specialist on that, why don't you ask this person? You already have a team. You already, hopefully, you have a team meeting. Ask. This person is the specialist in the area. This person can tell you, or in theory, this person is there to support you because he's a specific type of knowledge. So if you have those people in your team, use that. Like that's a bit when I see the discussion waterfall or agile, and when you look for how you manage a team and how you things, the values and the principles that you use to manage a successful team, to be an effective leader, they are universal. They do not belong in waterfall, they do not belong on Scrum, or they do not belong in Kanban. They are universal. The thing is, what happens in some cases with waterfall, because the project manager is the responsible to create a timeline. There's these people that they think, because okay, this is the timeline, I'm going to do everything by myself without talking with anybody. But that works against you, because if you do that, and that's what I explained for this person here, say, let's assume that you're going to put this standard lead time that you have there. Then you're going to present to the board of directors. They are going to push you. And what you're going to base and what you're going to tell them to explain why you have this crazy timeline. And then you're going to tell, oh, I'm using a standard timeline. And then the next question is, what is the specialist in your team is advising you to do? And if you say, I don't know, I did not ask him, that looks really bad. That looks really bad into you. That's why being proactive it's so important. Being proactive, talking with people, being proactive, trying to find risks, being proactive, taking actions, taking the initiative. Because if you, as a project manager, you're not taking the initiative, the chances are that not much is going to happen unless you're already working a very high performing team, and then you have the team members already taking the initiative in what's going to be done. But if you're working new in a team, people don't know each other and people need time to form a team. And again, this also works for Scrum. That's why you expect that the productivity of the team and the effectiveness of the team will increase with the time, because more people will build this relationship, more they know each other, more they understand their boundaries, how far they can go, how can they interact with each others, more the team will perform better, so people will take the initiative and so on. But if it's a new team, unless you have, most of the case, of course there's always exceptions there, people just wait for the project manager to take the initiative. And culture wise that also can change, but that will affect you. That's why being proactive it's so important. And that's of course come to disconnect already with the other characteristic I'm putting here, ownership. Because if you think that you need to wait for someone else, you're going to keep waiting, and then you're not going to be proactive because you think someone else needs to do it, it's not me. But if you have this feeling of ownership, then you're going to say, oh, this is my project. If I have no answer, this is my project. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to get some answers. I'm going to talk with my team members. I'm going to escalate it. I'm going to review document. I'm going to review the scope. I'm going to review the timeline. I'm going to review my business case. But those things, they always go together. And there is a very good book called Extreme Ownership that I do recommend it if you haven't read it yet. And they talk about leadership. It's a book just talking about leadership, not talking about project management. But the very first principle of the book is ownership, and of course they call extreme ownership. The guys who wrote it, they were Navy SEALs in the U.S. Special Force, and they are talking about leadership principles. And a leader always must have this sense of ownership. That's the first step that you need to start to exercise to be a good leader. And I want to highlight this again because good leadership, it's universal. And again, here's very important that you understand, ownership does not mean that you're going to do everything. Ownership does not mean that you are going to give all the answers, that you are going to define everything that needs to be done. That's that's very different. Ownership means that you feel responsible, so you're going to look in what can you do that's in your control zone, that can help your team to better perform, that can help your team to better delivery. That means that you facilitate discussions, that you ask questions to facilitate discussions to bring clarity to the team. This is very important, but it's impossible for you to be proactive if you do not have the feeling of ownership. So but good news, that's something that you can work on. You can start to move forward, take these steps and take the and being proactive here. And I understand, of course, to have this, you can even have this sense of ownership, but sometimes you don't have, maybe you are lacking a bit the confidence to be proactive. But here it comes something interesting. You just to be smart about you go out of things. So instead of going telling people what they need to do, just go there and ask questions. And based on the answers that you get, you might ask follow-up questions. Then you can define something. That's how you're going to build a timeline. That's how you're going to develop anything in a project. That's what they talk about leadership, teamwork. That's why it's so important for a project manager to have this sense of ownership and being proactive. Then the next characteristic that you need there is understanding how you need to adapt. For example, I just talk about uh, facilitating discussions. What does it mean facilitating discussions? I just talk about asking questions, but you need to understand that each person is unique. So sometimes the way you approach one person, it's not the same way that you need to approach the other one. And those are things that you are going to learn while you are working together. This is normal. That's why also one of the reasons why a team starts to better perform. But understanding how you adapt to the situation, it's very important. And when you adapt, it's adapt how you approach people, it's adapt how your leadership styles. For example, I've seen also something very nice. Someone made a post on Instagram, and he's saying once if you have a bit more time, you can be a collaborative leader or a servant leader or whatever, a true leader, whatever you want to call it. But if you are under time pressure, sometimes you need to be more directive, and sometimes then he put in brackets you need to be the boss, telling people what to do. And someone comment, "Oh, in knowledge worker, be the boss does not exist anymore." But here's the thing: understanding how to adapt your leadership style is essential there. Because in some situations, if you are under time pressure, you don't have a lot of time to debate. So you need to be much more directive in how you approach things. And of course, you cannot use this very directive approach all the time because also that does not work. But sometimes what you need to do, it's just open the floor so people can discuss it. And sometimes you're going to debate it. Sometimes you can debate it for um, a few days and until the team reaches an agreement in how to move forward. But understanding how you need to adapt to those situations is essential for you because sometimes you are really under time pressure. Then you cannot come to someone and like, hey, what do you think? If you see that someone's paralyzed because might be afraid, they do not know what to do, and can be a lot of good reasons. But if it's a critical situation there, then you need to be directive. You cannot ask the person, what do you think about it? How would you do it yourself? Those are questions that you ask usually to person when you have time. If you are under time pressure, you need to be directive. And that's part, of course, understanding how you adapt. Even though you might not like it, I've met project managers that they do not like this very directive style, but sometimes it's required. And I've met also project managers that they think they want to be directive all the time, telling what people do all the time. And usually people don't like that. I'm not sure about you, but I don't like someone telling me what I need to do during my day. I don't like someone telling me you must do it now. Usually, if someone approaches me like that, usually you're not going to get a good reaction there. So understanding how to adapt, it's important, because if you have an approach much more directive at some point, but if you're already working with someone for some time, usually also your team understands, say, this is a time pressure situation. So I understand that he's being more directive. Sometimes he's not going to do that all the time. Other very important point here that I want to mention to you is having this learning mindset. If you have the ownership, if you are proactive, and if you are adaptable, you combine this with a learning mindset, then you have something very special there already. Why? Learning mindset, it's essential, because I've seen people saying that I've been doing that for 10 years, or I've heard it sometimes 20 years or even 30 years. But it's not because you're doing something often. It's not the number of years that you're doing something that's going to tell you if you're good in something or not. It's if in those all those years you're not learning anything, then you're not getting good. Here is a very simple example that a Formula One driver, it's a better driver than a taxi driver. Why? The taxi driver, if you take someone that's a taxi driver for, I don't know, 20 years, for sure he has much more hours driving than a Formula One driver there. And even though he has a lot of extra hours there, does not mean that he's better. So just because you are doing something for a while does not mean that you are good or not in something. What you need to look for is, are you looking for, do you have this kind of learning mindset? Are you looking for continuously improving yourself? You are looking to ways to get better. You are looking to how you the 1% that you can improve every day to get better 1% every day. If you're getting, for example, if you're getting better 1% every day, in 1 year, you are going to make a big leap. But if you do not change anything in 1 year, or if you do not change anything in 10 years, does not mean that you are getting good in anything. And if you, I think there's a book, I think this comes from the book Outliers, I do not remember now, that he talks about the 10,000 hours that someone needs to reach, to master a skill, for example. But these 10,000 hours, it's not just being 10,000 hours for being 10,000 hours. You need to be 10,000 hours where you're constantly learning and increasing the level of your level of knowledge, you're developing your skills, and so on. Because if you just sit there, like if you're saying, I want to play guitar, and but you sit there for 10,000 hours like a dumbass, just knocking the in the chords, that will not make you a good player. But if you're constantly learning, improving your skills, practicing, seeing how you can improve, practicing again, then after the 10,000 hours, then you can say that I mastered this skill. So the learning mindset is what's going to make you master any type of skill, any type of professional that you need. And of course, that's what's required for you to be a successful project manager. Because I've seen people that they say, I have been doing that for 30 years. I'm always thinking, I'm not sure if you are aware of, but the world has changed quite a lot in the past 30 years. 30 years ago, there was no cell phone, even no internet. And you're saying that you're doing something as you did as 30 years ago, as if it was a good thing, if it is a good thing. For me, if you tell me that you're doing the same thing for 30 years, just show me that you don't have a learning mindset. Just show me that you are stuck with something and you think you are quite good because you just do the fucking damn thing every day. That's not what's going to make you good. And that's why this is so important in a project manager, because I've seen people that they think they are already very good at it, and they do not have this learning mindset. They are not always looking how they can do better. So they have all those blind spots that they not see it, but they already think they're quite good, and they just keep doing the same thing. And I can tell you, a lot of times those people, they do not get the results that they want. They are not promoted. Sometimes they lose their jobs. They do not grow in their career. They do not get the projects that they want. Why? Because the learning mindset, it's what's going to make the difference for you in the long run. Because if you say, I know how to adapt, I'm proactive, I have this feeling of ownership, those things are already quite good. But if you keep improving yourself, then at some point, if you take 1% every day, this goes exponential. And then at some point, you just surpass whoever is there. But it's very important that you keep this learning mindset going on there. And the next item that I have here, that's why I left this one to the end. And in my view, if you have those five here, you can go anywhere in any type of profession, including, of course, project management, is the anti-fragile mindset. Of course, if you do not know the definition, the anti-fragile comes from the book that's also called Anti-Fragile. I did not invent this concept. It is a quite good book. By the way, I do also recommend that if you read it. Basically, anti-fragile means that after a shock, after a stress, after a challenge, you are going to come up better on that. That's a difference from being anti-fragile from being resilient, for example. Being resilient means that if something like if you take a steel bar and you bend a bit and it will come back to the original position. Why? Because it has a resilience there. It's a property there. But anti-fragile would mean that if you in your case that after a challenge that you get even better there. And this is important, and of course this is fully connected with the learning mindset, because if after a challenge you do not learn anything, you cannot be anti-fragile. But idea of being anti-fragile, it's also understanding how you move forward, because one of the things that you're going to need to succeed in your career, in your life, to be a project manager, is making sure that you can keep progressing, you can keep trying again. Meaning, for example, if you have a problem in a project and suddenly you try to solve it and it does not work, what you are going to do? You are going to give up, or you are going to look for a different way to do it. That's what's about the idea of being anti-fragile and how you can use this learning mindset to be to be more anti-fragile or anti-fragile. I do not know how to pronounce it properly. Maybe this is so important because, and that's why I've even created this image here that's stupid. Uh, why? Because a lot of people, they try once, and because they fail or because they have a hard time, they just gave up. And you, as a project manager, you are not the person that should give up there. You cannot give up. You are the guy that should ask, okay, what we do next? What we are going to try next? You just cannot simply sit and accept that your project is failing, your team is failing, and then you're not doing anything that. The same way you just cannot sit and accept that you're not growing, your career is failing, you don't have anything to do in life, and that's it. So it's very important that you keep trying. And sometimes, yes, it will be difficult. Sometimes you have a hard time, but it's important to keep going. That's why I'm going to explain this a bit, this image, because I kind of changed it a bit, the idea from what I read in a book. It's the idea of the book was basically someone was there. There's a story from what is written in the book. It should be a real story that someone was looking for gold. This is the old times. It was the old west when they started the expansion looking for gold. So they start to look for a gold in mine. And at some point, those two guys, they just gave up and said, ah, there's no gold here, and they went doing something else. But someone pop up and say, ah, I'm going to try a bit harder here, and they were like 1 meter to find the gold in the mine, and they gave up before of that. So that's the idea. If every time you start something, you gave up in the middle and you move for something else, that's why like I'm making this. This guy was digging, looking for water, then he gave up. not going to work. Then he go for the next one, he start to digging, then he say gave up, I'm not, it's not going to work. Then he go for the next one. I see a lot of people doing that with their careers. And I talked with someone that he told me I want to work as a project manager and so on. Then later on, I asked him how things are going, and he told me, "Yeah, I was invited for an interview. The interview did not went well. Then I got demotivated and I gave up." One interview, for God's sake. Do you know how many interviews I had in my life? And because when I was trying to make a transition from my career in Brazil to an international career, if you've heard me talking about that before, I had to learn a lot of skills from how to prepare for a CV because I was working in the same company for 7 years and I did not have even a decent CV. Then I had to learn how to prepare for interviews because first one I just went there like that and it sucked in the end. And but then I learned to improve, I learned to adapt, I went for another interview, and at some point I started to get better on that. And of course, then I start to get more notes. I start to get better positions, and I start to grow my career. But giving up after one interview is ridiculous. I see people telling me that, oh, I start to try to apply for project management, and I apply for a couple of positions, and there was no feedback, and I gave up. That's ridiculous. When I think I was moving for trying to make a move again for the international career, I believe I applied for more than 300 positions easily. I would say even more than that. But of course, what I was applying, I was trying to improve my CV. I was learning how to change my CV, how to customize my CV, and I was moving forward that. So I was doing something else. In the beginning, of course, I was just using my crappy CV for, I don't know, a lot of positions and did not work. Then I say, okay, I need to do something else because it's not working. So then you use a bit the learning mindset, the anti-fragile, because that's why I'm saying the anti-fragile, because it's very, very easy if you apply for 10 positions and you say, I don't hear anything, you just gave up and you're going to do something else. Which is fine if you tell me that you don't like that and you're going to do something that you like it. But if that's something that you want to do for your life and that's one something that you want to do for your career, and you tell me that you just give a couple of tries and you gave up, that's completely ridiculous. And I'm going to tell you even more. If you have this kind of mindset, you're going to be not going to be a good project manager because I do not know what kind of projects that you are working. I do not know where is it, but something that I can guarantee for you 100% that your project is not going to be exactly as you planned it, that you are going to face challenges in the middle of that, then you are going to have risks, and then you are going to be you need to be resilient and anti-fragile to make sure that you can overcome, then you can make sure that you can deliver a successful project. That's how you work. That's also part of risk management. Because if you see a lot of risks and you see something coming, you need to take initiative. Say, I need to do something. I need to move something around here. You cannot just look and say, yeah, but that's not going to work. Yeah, I'm demotivated. I gave up. That does not work in real life. Why? Of course, you can do that if you want, but then you are not going to achieve anything in your career. And what I'm telling you, if you have those things here, I'm telling this is, of course, because I talk about project management, but if you have those 5 characteristics here, you can do anything that you want in your life. Why? Because you're always going to try again. You're going to look, say, how I can improve it now, how I can do this in a different way. And you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying. So sooner or later, you're going to succeed. It's impossible for you to not succeed if you do that. So be smart in what you are doing that. And again, the good part, you can develop those things. You can build up on those things, build your habits, being more proactive, learning how to adapt, being anti-fragile, feel this ownership, changing your mindset for this learning mindset. And of course, that's even nicer. If you want, you don't need to do it by yourself. There's plenty of people around the world that can help you, including myself. That's why I have a program to develop project managers. That's why I have a mentoring program, and that's why there's plenty of people out there that want to help you depending what you want to do. But again, it will not help you to try to join a program if you're not willing to have the ownership of your own life, if you're not proactive, if you're not willing to take the action, if you're not willing to put the effort there, and if you're giving up in the first barrier that you have there, the first roadblock that you have there, you just give up. I got demotivated. Have some discipline from what you want there. That's why it's important. And I again, if you have those things, I can guarantee if you start to develop those things, nothing will be easy in the beginning. I can tell you that. I know that by experience, but more you do that, better you're going to get and more results that you're going to get. Then you keep doing that, and then you will enter like a very positive development cycle there. And no one basically can stop you there. And of course, you can reach whatever you want as long as you keep learning, keep understanding how to adapt, feel the ownership for your life, being proactive, and be anti-fragile. That will make all the difference in your career, in your life. So make sure that if you fully understand that, that's the main thing that I want to tell you here today. Understand those things, understand how they can deeply affect your career and your life, and hopefully you can tell me the result. I would love to hear the result. Share here in the comments. Send me a direct message on Instagram. I would love to hear if you say I've watched this video and decide to do something different for me and it's already working. I would love to hear from that. Again, make sure you like this content here. That helps me to see the value from what I'm doing here. That helps under YouTube understand that this content has value, and it will also help to reach more people, so more people can learn and develop. Um, Follow me for more content on YouTube, but also you can follow me for more content on Instagram. There I have a daily Q&A box open, and you can ask all project management related questions there. But you can also send me a direct message, like if you're implementing some of those things that I'm doing here, send me a direct message. I would love to see the results, and even I can might have one or two ideas in what you can go next. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.